All right. The Lions have cut the roster to 53, which means the NFL season is even closer. And there were some moves that made sense, and there were some moves that flat out surprised us. And in this video, we're going to talk about all of those things: offense, defense, and just kind of our initial reaction to the team's 53. And we have an awesome article here we're going to be using. So, our guys at Pride of Detroit. So, Chris, let's start with the big position, quarterback. This is something we knew was possibly coming. How do you feel about Tim Boyle? See ya.
Yeah, Tim Boyle, see it, right? It's just one or the other, Blau or Boyle, and it's really just if Goff gets hurt, this whole thing goes down, right?
Goes down.
That's where we're at. So quarterback, I'm still waiting to see if we make a move, see who gets cut. Maybe Blau goes as well. Wouldn't be shocked at that. But
Right.
you pick your flip a coin at Blau or Boyle at this point. They're both not doing well, and if Goff goes down, we're in trouble.
Can we just say this too, as we're going through this roster? Remember, we have waiver claim number 2.
Yes.
So as long as the Jags don't want the player that we're claiming, we get that player.
Huge.
So I think, like, as you're going through these, be looking at other teams, see who other teams cut, and think to yourself, like, ooh, who could fit on a roster? Because I don't think we're necessarily done here.
Right.
And quarterback is one of those positions that I'm not sure we're done. Maybe we like Blau. Maybe we realize, hey, he's absolutely worth it in the locker room. He's a great guy to have with Goff. It was clear him and Goff are tight. So that became clear on Hard Knocks, at least to me. So I think getting rid of Boyle makes sense. But let's not spend any more time on Tim Boyle. We've spent enough time on Tim Boyle. Let's move down to what I am calling by far the biggest shock. Well, not by far, but because there's other ones too. But this one shocked me, Chris. Like, when I'm sitting here and I was wondering if Justin Jackson was going to take Craig Reynolds' spot in the last game. Like, because he was playing so well. He's a good special teams player. I know Jamar Jefferson has worked on that a lot this offseason, so he's better. But kick returner, see ya. Justin Jackson, see ya. And now Jamar Jefferson, a guy who could not get it going at all in the preseason. Like, no, we're going to keep you. What? Explain it to me. Coach it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm a big Godwin fan. I've always been. I just like him. I like his juice. I think from a returner standpoint, everything about Godwin I've always I like. And so the fact that Jefferson, you nailed it. Just I never got it going. So it's like he's probably not going to make it. I don't see him. And then we really like Justin Jackson, a professional, a pro guy. This is his 5th year in the league or whatever. And it's like, nope, they're gone. So I don't quite understand the Jefferson move at this point, but I'm open to hear what you have to say. Like, what do you think of this? Like, it doesn't. I don't. This is the biggest shock of all the positions and all of it is just the running back room. These 4 guys are who we come out with. I don't know.
And it's fine. But here's kind of the shock to me, and this is the way I look at it, and then I'll give the flip side of what they might be thinking, I guess. So when you look at Jefferson, Igwebuike, Jackson, I look at Jamar Jefferson as the 3rd best running back.
Yep.
He is the 3rd best return man, and he is the 3rd best special teams player. Like, there's nothing that he does better than either guy. And so, like, I can understand if you're like, well, he's the youngest, and quite frankly, he's a better special teams player, and we think his running game will get there. I mean, the only thing he didn't do is fumble. So, at least we got that going. But he had those. Remember, we talked about it in the preseason live. Like, he looks like he's got the juice. He looks like a guy who can find the hole, hit the hole, but he just doesn't produce. So maybe they're seeing a lot of potential. I don't know.
Yep. And he was another guy you and I had mentioned, like, in the last preseason game, we wondered, why is Jefferson in there? Because they're like, let's see what he can do. And then he didn't really do much. So that was like, okay, so he's out, but he's in. So interesting. And that's one we just got to keep our eye on because it's not the running back room I envisioned.
Little surprise to me in the wide receiver room as well.
So wide receiver room, your initial thoughts when you see the 5 that we keep and the 4 that we let go.
Yeah. So when we kept 4 running backs and the 4th running back was Jefferson, my thought was, okay, Maurice Alexander is going to make this team because he's going to be our kick returner and our 6th guy. And Cephas, I know that he was hurt, so he's not running at 100%. Cephas, yeah, he caught that touchdown, but he did not look good against the Steelers.
Mm-mm.
He looked slow. He looked tired. He looked, it was very unique. So I thought maybe Maurice Alexander has a chance to make this team, but they didn't. So they just go with 5 wide receivers. And here's the thing that's kind of amazing to me. You look at Quintez Cephas, barely made the team. Honestly, I wasn't sure he was going to make the team.
No,
And he, for a 4 or 5 week span, 3, 4, 5 week span, was our number one wide receiver last year. Just a nice depth reminder. What do you think about the wide receiver room?
I always go back to Khalif Raymond. Our coaching staff loves him, and
Yeah.
you don't see enough of him, or like I don't know. He's another guy like last year. He was just in, right. He just default. You're a body we need, Khalif, and like, is he? I don't. It's just an interesting. Khalif Raymond and Quintez Cephas could easily almost be out of there, and then you could be Trinity Benson and Alexander or Tom Kennedy, and like this room is just. I'm okay with it, but it's just interesting how. Oh man, from what we've seen, Cephas for sure. I mean, if he got cut, I'd be like, yeah, that just didn't work,
Yeah.
man. That guy's been injured and slow. But that's our 5, knowing full well that Jameson Williams at some point, hopefully, will be back halfway through the year. And this is going to definitely change. We know that. Like
We
this is
know that.
all going to change pretty a lot. So, but initially, hey, I am good with this because of our top 3 with Jameson Williams coming. That's really where the focus needs to be. I get
Mhm.
why we're doing this and we're talking about the cuts and the whole thing. But when you look at those top 3 plus Jameson Williams, it's like, all right, wide receivers, I feel good about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even feel bad, and I like Khalif Raymond in there. I think like we forget
Mm-hmm.
the dude had over 40 catches last year,
Yeah. Yep.
and he did play good football, but he's just a guy that you trust. You
That's
trust
right.
him in special teams. You trust him when he has to play on the field. He has good speed, so I have no problem keeping him at all.
No, nope. Um, yeah, let's move to tight ends because this
Yep,
one's
do it.
interesting for me. So TJ Hawkinson, of course, and then And then I don't know if we've got depth or we don't have depth, or it's just like, hey, these are just the guys. Funches, I thought Funches, oh my gosh, like he looked good. He's one of the first cut. What's your initial any strong feelings with the tight end position?
Yeah, with Funchess, it made sense that he got cut. It just doesn't make sense on this team because he's one of those guys where he's either a tall, athletic tight end that can't block or a slow wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's kind of one of those tweeners, and he showed out with a good game. But when you look back, it's like 4 catches for 19 yards and 2
Yep.
touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like right place, right time. And he did look good. Don't get me wrong. He just had to look really good. The injury really hurt him. I think James Mitchell, if he came back with a resemblance of health with that ACL, was going to make this team
Mm.
out of Atek. And Zylstra showed when Funchess went down that he could be even a more reliable target in many ways out there, former wide receiver himself. So I like what they did with this. You have Hawkinson, you have Brock Wright, who's Brock Wright, and I think he's perfect in a perfect world. He's your third tight end, but James Mitchell, as he's returning from that ACL, as he's regaining strength, as he's adjusting to the pace of the game, I wouldn't be surprised to see him as your number 2 tight end at the end of the year or next year. So
Yep. Okay.
he's the guy he's the reason this tight end room will be okay, I think.
Awesome. Yep. And then
Without
we move.
obviously talking about the best player.
Yeah. An
Then we're
offensive,
closing out the offense here
yeah,
and with
offensive
the offensive
line.
line.
You look at basically what we did was we kept a first team and then a second team. And then, you know, with a swing tackle, and we go with Matt Nelson over Dan Skipper. Logan Stenberg is a guy that, we've just been wondering about out of Kentucky. I loved when we drafted him and he
Mhm.
wasn't able to do anything, but he looked really good in the preseason. So
Last 2 games he looked phenomenal.
our
Yeah.
offensive line, just from the top end down to the depth, feels good.
It feels good, and I know we've always questioned the depth. I question keeping 9, but I think I kind of get what they're doing. Tommy Kramer, you want to keep because he can play center, he can play guard, and he can even play a little tackle. But you don't want him there. But at least that way, if Nelson goes down and Decker or Sewell, like at least you have someone on the roster that can do it. And I think Logan Stenberg probably makes the team because he's your number 1 guard coming off the
Yeah.
bench.
And
So,
yeah,
like,
this is
okay, good for you. That's good.
Yes, that love the offensive line, love the depth. No surprises really there. Love what we did. The only surprise maybe keeping 9, but that's fine. And then now we switch to defense. This is those interior defensive linemen, that's where we kind of wondered, what do we have? And Isaiah Buggs makes it after picking him up late, and
Yeah,
we keep Levi even though he's injured. We don't put him on anything. I noticed we kept a few injured guys that maybe or maybe don't play week 1, and
right.
interior
Right.
defensive line. Hey, these are the guys we're going to roll with. We need Brockers to play well. I mean, this when I look at this, I don't look at kind of who we cut. I look at, boy, can those top end guys really produce? I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other thing that was so encouraging is we didn't see much Brockers and much McNeil.
That's
We
right.
really didn't. I don't know if we saw any McNeil, to be honest with you.
No.
But like, I don't remember seeing him once in the preseason. I could
Mm.
be wrong.
I
He might
haven't
have been
seen
out there
him
for
do
a
anything.
series,
Yeah.
but like, I haven't seen him at all. And even with that, outside of the first game, the last 2 games, our interior defensive line played well.
Mhm.
Demetrius Taylor sawed off, as Campbell likes to call him. Like, dude can play and he's making some things happen. So I actually feel pretty good about this room, even with the worries that we have about Unwuzurike, and I'm worried he's another second round bust. But we just got to get him healthy. Got to get him healthy. He's
Yep.
never been healthy.
Absolutely. Nope. Get them healthy, get those guys. And then you look at our edge rushers, all of a sudden you got Aiden and Charles Harris. It's like, let's go. And then you
Yep.
got Austin Bryant and Kaminsky, who we love, and Julian's still in there with a high ceiling. Don't know. I love
Yeah.
our edge
Again, always
rushers.
hurt.
Yeah. I love our edge rushers all of a sudden. And
Do you?
it feels good.
Yeah, I really like our edge rushers. Harris is going to, I think, have a big year. I think statistically, sack wise and stuff, Harris is going to be even better than Hutch. And a
Mhm.
lot of that's because they're going to have to pay a lot of attention to Hutch. And he's going to kind of get the Ojabo treatment that Ojabo got at Michigan, which is you're getting a lot of single, just try and block me with one man. And I think he's too good for that now. Harris, we
Yeah.
have 2 edge guys that are too good to be blocked with one guy. What I love about Kaminsky, Houston clearly wasn't ready. He wasn't there yet.
Nope. It was a
Not
good
even
try.
close. Yeah, it was a
Yep.
good try. I don't dislike the draft pick. What I like about Kaminsky is you can move him inside. You can move Hutchinson inside if you have to. So you have these guys that even if you're struggling with defensive tackle depth, Kaminsky can get in there in a pinch if he has to. So the edge rusher not only is deep at edge, but it can play across the line.
Yeah. Yeah. We,
Mm-hmm.
we saw that. We saw that against Pittsburgh. They moved some of our edge guys inside, kind of that third down pass rush package. It
Yeah.
looked really nice. And then
So 19 linemen, just in case you're keeping count.
yes, just bodies. And then
It's a lot of beef.
we no really surprises here. And I guess the one surprise would be that there wasn't any surprises, if that makes any sense.
I had a
It's
slight
like,
surprise.
okay, kind of like Derek Barnes. Dave Burkett of the Free Press had Derek Barnes. This was a couple weeks ago, but he predicted that he might not make the team, and I started wondering about that. And then no,
Premature.
he's fine. He's fine. Malcolm Rodriguez, obviously, and Zaloni. We're just we've been talking a lot about the linebackers, and we don't need these guys to be great. We just need them to be okay. And I think this group can do it. They got to stay healthy. We'll see.
You're generally playing 2 at a time, and I
Yep.
think it's pretty clear that you have 3 that are above the rest, and that's Anzalone, Barnes, Rodrigo.
Mhm.
And those 3 are above. Board is a good situational player for passing downs. The only slight surprise to me was Pittman, and it's not because I like him as a linebacker. I really don't. He's just really good at special teams.
Yep.
So, but here's the other thing: so is Chris Board, so is Rodriguez, so is Woods. So it'll be fine. No big deal.
Yeah, and yeah, love our linebacker room so far. And then
Love.
this was an interesting one. You and I like Savion Smith. We like Jerry Jacobs. We liked AJ Parker. Chase Lucas. It's like, I don't know. This guy's he's a little like rail thin, and he's kind of squirrely, and he's talking a lot, and I don't think he's gonna make it. And the next thing you know,
He's gonna make it.
look at these guys, and it's
He
like,
played well though.
but this is a group, like, if this is not the red flag, we're not in red flag stage, but we're definitely in yellow, where it's like, oh, Warrior, boy, you can't get hurt. Okuda, question marks. Harris, you were just a safety last year. Bobby Price. I mean, there's some question marks here.
So Okuda Barnes, like Okuda and Barnes, the
Mm,
linebacker, all of a sudden the last 2.5 weeks have been rock solid.
yeah.
And I mean, like rock solid from all reports in camp, for practice,
Mhm.
during the games, for what we're seeing, they've been rock solid. And it's just like, do you feel good there all of a sudden? And like maybe Okuda's not your number one corner, but maybe by year end he is. And so like you wonder if he's starting to finally figure out after the bad coaching, the bad injury, if now he's starting to come around, which would actually be way ahead of the curve for an Achilles.
Oh my
And
gosh, yeah.
then and then here's the are you ready for the big surprise? And I just want this is a good story. What I'm about to say, it's rough for AJ Parker, but it's good for the Lions. That man was our starting slot corner. He was our
Mhm.
nickel corner, sorry, whatever you want to call it, right? He started last year, all year when he wasn't hurt at nickel corner. He didn't make the team. And so you knew they were saying it was Hughes and Parker battling for that number one nickel corner. And it kind of looks like whoever lost the starting job was cut. Even though Chase Lucas isn't as good,
Right.
they love what they have in him and what he could be. So the rest of them make sense. Jerry Jacobs is not cut. I mean, like I know they put a line through him that's deceiving, but
Yeah.
he's on the pup. He's on the pup.
Yep.
So I don't they didn't cut him. So we're gonna have to see what they do. I think he probably comes back and maybe Bobby Price is gone or something. So
Yeah, Bobby Price.
mhm.
And then safety, are you a little surprised at the sheer
5.
amount of safeties that we kept?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit, but whatever. I mean, like
Yeah.
so if
Doesn't
he's
Juju
hurt,
Hughes feel like an automatic, like there was a lot of different like, ooh, tweeners. I feel like Juju Hughes, like, all right, he's out. Let's get some, but I don't know. I
but he
gotta
played
pay
so well
attention.
in training camp. Everybody talked about it. Didn't see him much in the game, which I guess is a good thing because he's not getting burnt much.
Right.
But like, he's one of those guys. I think that's a body while they're wondering if he can play.
Yeah.
And because he's hurt. So until Melifonwu comes back, or even a few weeks after, your Juju Hughes is like, no, we need to have 4 safeties that can play right now.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
Those
But I
guys can
like the
always be.
starting safeties, and I think Kirby Joseph's going to be very good. So
Yep. And those safeties, I love the difference. I don't know. The safeties, the jury's still out there. Got to see them in a game because there was a couple bad plays in preseason games where you're like they're
yeah,
lost. But I don't hate that group. And then finally, the one I'm just so passionate about.
I know it's hard.
I thought Riley Patterson
It's our guy.
was just the great. He settled our season down. He gets not enough credit for, you always talk about St. Brown at the end of the year. What about Riley Patterson coming in, making field goals, and he's gone? And it's
I
like
thought he was going to be our Dan Bailey for the Cowboys. Just never miss a field goal.
never going to
Not
be with
huge
us for
leg
the next
strength.
20 years. 20 years, and he's gone. So
20 years and he's
I,
got like our next Jason Hansen,
yeah,
and yeah, no, that was rough. And I get the Cybert pick because the dude can kick it over 60. Like
yeah,
I get that. And he's, I guess, better on kickoff. So I understand. Just let's have a moment for Riley, because
Riley.
Riley Patterson, he was my lock when I'm doing my franchise on Madden. Like Riley Patterson's my lock.
Yeah,
Like
he's not trade, no trade clause right there.
no, I'm not trading him. I'm going to sign you to the 8-year max contract
Oh,
because I want you here because you're the most accurate kicker I've ever seen.
ever
And
seen. And but Jack Fox, we forget we have one of the best punters, and that's just kind of nice. And
the
that's what, dude, that's one of the
single
things in the
best punter.
NFL that that has really, you talk about the evolution of the game. The specialists, punters can boot it,
Wow.
kickers just get past midfield. I mean, it's like changes the game. That's why they are one of the reasons that the NFL is so exciting. Is like you boom, flip field position, or you just, like I was saying, you just got to get past midcourt,
Midfield.
midfield, and all of a sudden
50.
you're, there's 3 points, whatever. So yeah, I I love this team. I know that things are going to change though, and just excited to see where it goes, I guess, from
Hey,
here.
punters are people too.
That's right.
That's what I'm
Love
telling
those
you.
guys.
I love special teams. I
Mhm.
love a good punter. I love a good kicker. The idea that you're on your own 20, you've done nothing with the offense, but you can bring the other team where they started and they're still on inside their own 20 because you
Yeah,
flip the field.
it's huge.
Or a kicker where it's like you got past 40. It's like everything is fair game right now. That's what I loved about having Prater, not so much in the last year, but
Mhm.
like those are the things. So Riley Patterson, we'll miss you. You weren't going to give us that because you didn't have the leg strength, but you were good. So that's I think that's it, man. This is a long video,
Yep,
but
love it.
a lot of surprises. It's been great, and I think the 53-man roster is semi set. Be watching. Tomorrow could be a busy day too.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Hit that subscribe button below, and don't forget to comment.